Hey, welcome to The Explainer. When we think about the ancient world, it's easy to see nature as just scenery. But what if it was more than that? What if it was a text, a kind of divinely written language full of symbols? Today, we're going to decode a really fascinating part of that language.
So let's just dive right in with this question. We look at the hills, the trees, the fields in these ancient texts, and we just assume they're part of the setting, right? But what if? What if they were actually saying something? What if the natural world itself was a way of communicating these huge theological ideas about life and death, purity and corruption?
Okay, so the key to this whole language, this whole code, lies in this really powerful and consistent symbolic split. On one side, you've got the kingdom of Flora, plants, and they represent things you can see, ordered growth, life, divine blessing. But on the other side, you have the kingdom of fungi. Their action is hidden underground. They're associated with decay, death, impurity. It's really that simple. Two kingdoms with two totally opposite meanings.
All right, so first up, let's look at the kingdom of life. How exactly did the visible, growing world of plants come to represent divine favor and, a sense of order?
Well, it really starts with what are known as the 7 species. Now, for ancient Israel, these were not just items on a shopping list. No way. Wheat, barley, grapes, figs, pomegranates, olives, and date honey. These were the ultimate symbols of a promise fulfilled. They were tangible, physical proof of a blessed, fertile land given by God. Seeing these things flourish meant peace, stability, and total divine approval.
And look, this isn't us just reading into things. The text spells it out. This verse from Deuteronomy literally defines the essence of the promised land by its plants. The fact that these specific plants were thriving was the physical proof that everything was right between the people and their creator. And the symbolism gets even deeper, believe it or not. It actually goes into the realm of ritual. Take a plant like hyssop, which was probably a type of wild oregano. It was the designated tool for cleansing people from the most severe kinds of ritual impurity, things associated with death or disease. So get this, the plant world didn't just symbolize purity. It actually provided the very means to get it back.
Okay, so for every symbol of life and blessing, there has to be an equal and opposite symbol, right? So let's flip the coin and move to the other side of this code, the unseen kingdom of fungi. This is where we get the language of decay, contagion, and corruption. The first big symbol here is hametz, which is the Hebrew word for leaven. Just think about yeast for a second. A tiny, unseen bit of it can totally permeate and transform a whole batch of dough, right? It puffs it up, it sours it. This made it the perfect metaphor for a kind of internal corruption, a hidden sin like pride that can just sour a person's whole character from the inside out. And the second fungal symbol is tzara'at, another Hebrew term. Now, this gets translated as leprosy a lot, but it was probably more like a type of aggressive mold that could affect skin, clothes, even the walls of a house. So unlike leaven, this was an external contagion, a visible impurity that could spread and defile the entire community. It was so serious it might require quarantine or even demolishing the house. Okay, so we have our code, right? Plants equal blessing and order, fungi equal corruption and chaos. Now, with this lens, we can actually try to solve a really fascinating biblical mystery. Let's talk about the Erev Rav, a Hebrew phrase that means the mixed multitude. The biblical story tells us this group of non-Israelites left Egypt with everyone else during the Exodus. But here's the thing. Whenever there's a major rebellion in the desert, this group gets the blame. They're pointed to as the source of the problem. But why? What was the real nature of their threat? Well, the answer becomes incredibly clear, almost obvious, when we look at their actions through our symbolic code. The Erev Rav basically acted as a kind of social fungi. They introduced corruption into the community in two very distinct, very fungal ways. First up, the golden calf. This was straight-up Egyptian bull worship, a totally foreign religious practice. The sources describe the Erev Rav as being the ones who brought this idolatry into the Israelite camp. So you see, they acted exactly like tzarat, an external, contagious impurity that infected the holy community from the outside and threatened its very existence. And the second parallel is just as striking. It's really brilliant. Later on, when the people rebel because they're craving Egyptian food, the text says the craving began with the Erev Rav.
Their discontent was just like comets, like leaven. It was the small pocket of internal corruption that spread lightning fast and soured the entire nation from within, turning them against the divine food they were being given. So, what's the big takeaway here? The crucial point is that folks in the ancient world weren't just passively observing nature, they were reading it. The landscape itself was this powerful vocabulary for understanding the deepest spiritual realities of their world. You can really see how this framework created a tangible axis for all these abstract ideas. On one side, Flora represented divine order, life, and was an agent of purity, or tahara. On the other, Fungi represented decay, death, and was a source of impurity, or tuma. It's this incredible system that connected the world you could see and touch directly to these massive concepts of blessing and curse. It allowed people to physically interact with spiritual ideas. So why does any of this matter? Well, because this symbolic system was an incredibly powerful tool. It helped people make sense of a fundamental paradox that we still wrestle with today. How can the world be a good creation and yet also be so full of decay, corruption, and death? This code gave them a language to understand and navigate that tension. And that leaves us with a final, pretty compelling question to think about. If the simple, observable difference between a plant and a fungus could articulate such a profound theology of order and chaos, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other codes, what other hidden languages are all around us, just hiding in plain sight, waiting for us to learn how to read them?